Amazing Combat Sports. Sports and laughs, it's all love. Ow! What do fighters do for a living? They fight. And over the course of their careers, opponents come and opponents go. Knockout after knockout, victory after victory, the wins keep piling up. But as fate would have it, every now and then a great fighter finds himself pitted against another with similar talents. A man who most feel is just as special as he is, and some feel is more special than he is. A rival. Now their whole career will be paralleled and defined by this other person. Forget everyone else you fought. Now, it's only about him. But rivals are actually a blessing in disguise for a fighter. They only make you better. Think about it this way. What would Batman be without the Joker? What would Ali be without Frazier? What would the Black Panther movie have been without Killmonger? You feel me now, right? And when two rivals square off, it's not just about a win or a loss, it's about something deeper, something that will follow them for as long as they live and beyond. It's about legacy. And in my humble opinion, we have 3 legacy fights right now in the sport of boxing that are either made or in the process of being made. So y'all know we gotta talk about them. Amazing Combat Sports. Let's go! What is up, my people? It's your man, Amazing Eric with Amazing Combat Sports. We always encourage you at any time during the video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me say it again. Like, comment, and subscribe. Today, we'd like to talk to you about 3 legacy fights, but we don't want to talk about the X's and O's of the fights on this video. In other words, this won't be about who is going to win these fights. This will be about something deeper. We want to bring 3 things to you that we feel make up legacy fights. So we have 3 legacy fights and we're bringing up 3 things. And I don't know, I think I see a pattern emerging here with the number 3. So in keeping with the theme of that pattern, it is very important that we talk about 3 men before we get started on this video, because trust me, you will not be able to receive or enjoy this video the right way unless we talk about these 3 men first. They are the promoters, advisors, and managers of the men involved in these fights. So right now, please, for me, for your boy, take all of your Al Heyman and PBC related hate, take all of your Eddie Hearn and DAZN related hate, take all of your Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy related hate, and just turn the volume down on it a little bit. I wouldn't dare ask you to stop it. Everyone has a right to feel exactly the way they feel. I won't even ask you to put it on pause, because putting it on pause is actually stopping it in some kind of way, right? So I'm not asking that. I'm just saying turn the volume down on it enough where you can actually hear something else, because you know when you have the volume so loud on something, you can't hear anything else. And what we want this video to be about is the 6 men that are either going to do battle now or are getting ready to do battle with each other in the future. The fighters, the warriors, the superheroes. Because what I'm learning about the sport of boxing is a lot of times the hate for a fighter, the man who actually is getting in the ring, taking the punches, bleeding, giving blood, sweat, and tears, is tied to hate of a man that's outside of the ring, that's not even getting into the ring fighting. So just for today, we're gonna make this video about the 6 men who will actually be getting into the ring, exchanging punches, and doing the fighting. Okay, let's get into it. We have 3 points that we want to discuss that let you know when you have a real legacy fight on your hand. And since there are 3 fights we'd like to talk about, we're gonna use each one of the fights to cover a certain point. Okay, point number 1. The first way you know you have a real legacy fight on your hand, the fighters start to become one another. You can't think of one without thinking about the other. Okay, the fight that we will be using to illustrate this point is Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder, whichever way you like it. Now, think about this point and think about these 2 men. The fighters become one another. You can't think of one without thinking about the other. This is what happens in legacy fights. This is what happens happens when you have a true rival. Just keep it real. If Deontay Wilder is in an interview, somebody is going to ask him about Anthony Joshua. If Anthony Joshua is in an interview, somebody's going to ask him about Deontay Wilder. Go to any picture posted on their Twitter, on their Instagram. If it's not related to one another, someone's going to bring it up. Deontay Wilder had pictures with Donald Trump. He was on pictures shaking hands with the President of the United States. That had a lot of people talking. But if you scroll down the comment section long enough, they started to talk and ask about who? Anthony Joshua. Even on a picture with Donald Trump, people still wanted to talk about Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua has pictures on his vacation, on the beach, sipping drinks. Guess what people are saying in the comment section? When you gonna fight Deontay though? These two men are tied together. This is one reason why this is a legacy fight. You can't look at one without thinking about the other. It's like, even though they look completely different, and sometimes in legacy fights, the men can be totally different races, but if you look at one, it's like they start looking like the other person. You know why? Because you're mental. You are thinking about one of the other people as you're looking at the other one. Every time you see your man AJ, you think about Deontay Wilder. You can't help it. On the flip side of that, when you see Deontay Wilder's face, you can't help it anymore. AJ just pops up in your brain. Watch this. You're looking at this picture of Deontay Wilder. See Deontay Wilder right here? But what really happens in your brain is he just morphs like this into AJ. This is a way you can tell that you have a true legacy fight. The fighters start to remind you of each other. You can't think of one without thinking about the other. Okay, the next thing we want to tell you about a legacy fight. Point number 2. True legacy fights are actually born. They're not made. Okay, let me just say this real quick before we get into this point, because I can just feel some of my listeners saying, what are you talking about? Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua is nothing like Ali Frazier. Don't compare any of these guys to the good old days. Listen, I respect the good old days in sports in general, but you have to understand the good old days are gone. That covers sports in general, not just boxing. Gone are the days of Michael Jordan in basketball. Gone are the days of football where they can knock the heck out of the quarterback, turn the receiver or flip. No, they get fined for that now. Sports have changed, but don't be mad at us right now because we want to be a little optimistic and enjoy what we have in front of us. Yes, things have changed, but some of us don't want to be mad about it all day. So just chill out, relax, and let us enjoy this. Okay, back to the point. Real fights are born, not made. I'm gonna use a new legacy fight, one that is brewing, that, trust me, a year from now will be the biggest, probably most talked about fight in boxing. That is the fight that is brewing between my favorite fighter, Errol Spence Jr., and what just happens to be one of my other favorite fighters. He's earning it, I can't deny him. Terence Bud Crawford. These two are on a collision course, but this is just born. You know these fights where they're kind of fabricated, people almost try to force two men together to make it a legacy fight. What a true legacy fight has, you're the baddest man on your side of the street, I'm the baddest man on my side of the street. From my street all the way back, I've cleared it out. Nobody can touch me. From your side of the street all the way back, you've cleared it out. Nobody can touch you. You know what needs to happen? We gotta get it on, because we the two baddest things walking around here, so it has to happen. That's what we see in Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. Another thing about a legacy fight that's born, not made, the two fighters both know what the other fighter represents. They look across the aisle and they say, that's him right there. I have to go through him. I've heard Terence Crawford say it, and I've heard Errol Spence say it. Trust me, they know they are the two biggest dogs in the neighborhood. And here's another thing you'll notice. The other dogs in the neighborhood quietly agree that those are the two alpha dogs in the neighborhood. They do. They quietly agree. You can kind of tell in their mannerism. They kind of go off on the side and form their own other little pack, and then they're going to fight it out in their little pack. But they quietly agree those two are the ones that are going to have to fight when it all comes down to it. No disrespect to any other fighters out there. I do not like disrespecting fighters. I'm just keeping it real. But here's the problem when it comes to the fight game. Here's the issue with that when it comes to combat sports. There can only be one alpha dog in the neighborhood. That's right, there can only be one. We can't have two alpha dogs. That's why Errol Spence looks at Terence Crawford like, yeah, you might be an alpha dog, but I am the alpha dog of this neighborhood. And guess what? Terence Crawford looks right back at Errol Spence and say, yep, you're another alpha dog, but guess what? I'm the alpha dog of this neighborhood. But let me tell you something about this particular legacy fight. This one is still in the brewing stage, but mark my words, this one might just turn out to be the most violent encounter of all three of the fights we're going to mention here today. This one really might be the best scrap of all. This one here, I think you can tie this one back to the old days of boxing. This fight just might work out to be the most violent of all three fights we're going to mention today. Mark my words and remember what I'm telling you now, because this is what you get in a legacy fight that is born and not made or created. Okay, the third and final point I have for you today as it relates to true legacy fights, that point is this: one time just won't do. It just won't do. One time is usually not enough. We have to see the fight more than once. Now, we felt there was no better fight to use for this particular point than Canelo Alvarez versus Triple G. Why? It's pretty obvious. One fight just wouldn't do. It wasn't enough. They haven't worked out their issue yet. And yes, no matter what else is going on outside of this fight, for these two men, this is a true legacy fight. Their careers will be paralleled and defined by what happens in this upcoming fight. That's what a legacy fight truly is. And let me say this about all three of the fights we've mentioned today. I feel we're gonna see all of these fights more than once. Obviously, we're getting ready to see Canelo versus Triple G Part 2, but when it comes to Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, I fully expect to see these two men fight more than one time. When it comes to Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, I fully expect to see that fight more than once. With a true legacy fight, the business is just not able to be worked out in one fight. The fighters mean too much to each other. The fans have clamored for it. Everybody's talked about it. One time just won't do. So what we had today is 3 fights with 3 points. So again, do 3 things: like, comment, and if you haven't yet, subscribe. Make sure to jump into that comment section. Tell me about some other legacy fights I might have missed. Tell me your thoughts on these legacy fights. Just let your boy hear from you. Okay, until the next one, it's your man, Amazing Eric with Amazing Combat Sports. Peace.